Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is September 5th, 2023, and Javier Tebas has called Mateu Alemany to ask him whether he'd be interested in being the president of the Royal Spanish Football Federation. Also, Barcelona have done an amazing job in reducing their wage bill by 161 million euros. And finally, Fermin Lopez has gone back down to Barca Atletic. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and before we begin with the news, just two quick announcements. The first one is I've been getting a lot of questions about what's going on with the Enrique Negreira case with so many new articles surfacing in the media. So I've decided to make a separate video explaining exactly what's going on with the Negreira case, which I will upload that video right after this one. Now, the second update is I promised you a video of my trip to the Spotify Camp Nou where I took footage of what's going on with the stadium's renovation. And well, I'm happy to announce that I will be uploading that video tomorrow, Wednesday, September the 6th. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Now, having said all of that, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the gift bag. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you hit the Bet Us. Both links are down below in the description. Now, I'll begin with the news that Javier Tebas has reportedly called Mateu Alemany and asked him whether he'd be interested in becoming the new president of the Royal Spanish Football Federation. Now, as I reported in yesterday's video, the current president of the Royal Spanish Football Federation, Luis Rubiales, is currently involved in a big scandal where he kissed a Spanish woman player right on the lips against her will, right after the Spanish women's team won the Women's World Cup. And there's currently a big push for Luis Rubiales to resign from his post as the president of the Royal Spanish Football Federation. And therefore, it's currently being reported that La Liga's president Javier Tebas has personally called Mateu Alemany and asked him whether he's interested in becoming the new president in case Luis Rubiales does end up resigning. Now, it's reported that Mateu Alemany does like the idea of becoming the president of the Royal Spanish Football Federation, and that in fact he had been considering taking up an important post within Spain these past 2 months. But even though Mateu Alemany is in favor of this move, it's reported that he has yet to give his official answer to La Liga's president. Now, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, there's currently a media campaign being mounted by Real Madrid's propaganda machines such as AS and Marca, who are pushing for the former referee Mateu Laos to become the president of the Royal Spanish Football Federation. And I must say that I would rather 1,000 times over to have Alemany as the president rather than someone that Mateu Laos, who has spent his entire career as a referee making bad judgment calls against Barcelona and affecting the club in the long run. Now, speaking of Alemany, Joan Laporta and the other board of directors, it's reported today that Barcelona have been doing an amazing job in regards to reducing their wage bill, where they have managed to reduce it by 161 million euros. Now, Barcelona's wage bill stood at 566 million euros, and after all the hard work that Barcelona have done this past year, they've been able to reduce it to 404 million euros, which is a reduction of 161 million euros, bringing down the percentage of the salary of the players to just 53% of the entire club's budget. Now, before, the salaries of the players used to be 73% of the club's budget, but now it's down all the way to 53%, which is of course an amazing feat that Barcelona have been able to accomplish by offloading players who had incredibly high salaries such as Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, Antoine Griezmann, Coutinho, etc. And also by signing players with much lower contract, and also on free transfers like Ilkay Gundogan and Andreas Christensen. Now, speaking of Barcelona players, the club have officially released the squad list of players that they have registered for the Champions League. And the full list consists of Marc Ter Stegen, Joao Cancelo, Alejandro Valdez, Ronald Araujo, Íñigo Martínez, Gavi, Ferran Torres, Pedri, Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, Iñaki Peña, Joao Félix, Andreas Christensen, Marcos Alonso, Oriol Romeo, Sergio Roberto, Frankie de Jong, Ilkay Gundogan, Jules Koundé, Ander Astralaga, Lamine Yamal, Ángel Alarcón, Marc Casado, Diego Cochen, Fermin Lopez, Pau Cubarsí, and Aleix Garrido. Now, one name that you might notice that's missing from that list is the newly signed Mikel Fey, who Barcelona signed as a center back for the Barca Atletic. And the reason for that is that Xavi Hernandez has opted for Pau Cubarsí instead, because even though the Spanish coach is very impressed with Mikel Fey, he believes that he is not yet ready to make that jump to the Champions League, and instead he has opted out for Pau Cubarsí, who is La Masia's project, someone that La Masia has been working on for quite some time as the future center back, and who has a lot of positive reviews from footballing scouts and coaches who say he could be the next Gerard Piqué. So no, there's nothing wrong with Mikel Fey. Simply Xavi Hernandez thinks that Pau Cubarsí has more experience and is more developed in his footballing game, and that is why he has opted out for Pau Cubarsí over Mikel Fey. Now, speaking of Barca Athletic, Fermin Lopez has gone back down to train with Rafa Marquez's men. Now, Fermin Lopez since the summer has been training exclusively with the first team and being called up to the first team matches, but now he has been sent back down to Barca Athletic by Xavi Hernandez, but not because the coach is not happy with the performance of the player, but because the team is currently off for the international break. Now, it seems that Xavi Hernandez would like Fermin Lopez to continue training and continue growing and development, and as such, he has decided to send Fermin Lopez back down to Barca Athletic so he can continue training and playing matches under Rafa Marquez, while the first team takes the next 2 weeks off, as the players will be joining their international squads for international duty. Now, it seems that Fermin Lopez had actually requested 2 weeks ago that he be sent back down to Barca Athletic to train with Rafa Marquez while the international break is going on. And of course, Xavi Hernandez and the coaching staff are very happy with the players' hunger and desire to continue training, because he could have easily taken these 2 weeks off and spent them sleeping or playing video games or whatever it might be. But instead, he wants to continue training day and night, continue playing, because all he wants is to succeed with Barcelona. Now, of course, this is only temporary, and as soon as the international break is over, Fermin Lopez will go back to being in first team dynamic, training exclusively with the first team, and also being called up to first team matches. Now, speaking of youngsters who have hailed from La Masia, we now know when will Alejandro Valdez and Lamine Yamal put pen to paper and officially sign their new contracts. Now, Alejandro Valdez will be extending his contract until 2028 with a €1 billion release clause, and Lamine Yamal will be signing his first professional contract with Barcelona until 2026, because FIFA rules prohibit anyone under 18 years old to sign for more than 3 years. And Lamine Yamal's contract will also have a €1 billion release clause. Well, we now know when Alejandro Valdez and Lamine Yamal will officially put pen to paper and sign their new contracts, and this will happen as soon as the international break concludes. And it's reported that the official signing will happen on September 13th. So stay tuned to the channel, because of course, I will be ready to report about it. Now, while we're still on the topic of La Masia and its youngsters, as I reported in a previous video, Barcelona has decided to hire the former La Masia crown jewel, Bojan Krkic, and he will officially take his post next week. Now, Bojan Krkic had already been working with Barcelona in an unofficial capacity, but now he will become officially part of the Barcelona staff starting next week. And if you're wondering what Bojan Krkic will do, well, he will have kind of 2 jobs within Barcelona. The first one will be to aid in the scouting efforts of Barcelona and recognizing young talents across the globe. And the second position will be to help and mentor the young players from La Masia who make it to the first team, in order to help them cope with the new pressures and the new realities of being football players of one of the biggest clubs in the world. Now, as some of you might recall, Bojan Krkic was the crown jewel of La Masia and one of the most exciting talents to come out of the Barcelona Academy, so much so that he was dubbed as the next Leo Messi. But unfortunately, his quick rise to fame and a quick rise to the first team was too much for the young player, and he was unable to cope with all that pressure and attention. And as a result, he suffered from extreme anxiety, that prevented him from living up to his full potential. So now Bojan Krkic will be helping these young La Masia players who make it to the first team cope with their new realities as FC Barcelona first team players. And I really can't think of anyone more suited for this job, because after all, there's no one better than Bojan Krkic to know the importance of mental health. Now we will end today's video with two brief updates. The first one is that Julian Araujo, who's currently on loan with Las Palmas, is doing really well in his new team and is impressing his new coaches, so much so that there's a lot of calls for him to become a starter at Las Palmas. And this good news, of course, is delighting Barcelona and Xavi Hernandez, because after all, we still don't have a second right back or a substitute for Joao Cancelo. So hopefully Julian Araujo can continue doing a great job at Las Palmas and can continue growing and developing. That way he can come back next season and become either Barcelona's substitute right back right after Cancelo, or if Barcelona cannot retain Cancelo, then who knows, maybe Julian Araujo could become the starting right back for Barcelona. Now the second update is in regards to update, because I've been getting a lot of comments saying that Barcelona did not do a good job in offloading the Moroccan player, because they only offloaded him for 7.5 million euros plus 50% of any future sales. And while we now know a little bit more about why Barcelona offloaded Abde for this little to Real Betis, and the reason is that Barcelona in fact had offers from multiple Premier League clubs who were offering to pay Barcelona between 20 to 30 million euros. However, Abde insisted that he only wanted to go to Real Betis, and as such forcing Barcelona to negotiate with Real Betis only, who of course are having a very difficult financial situation due to the financial fair play rule restrictions. And as such, Barcelona were forced to offload Abde for 7.5 million euros to Real Betis, but of course they were able to negotiate that 50% of any future sales. So that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a like. Also, I would like to invite all of you to please leave a comment down below, giving me all your thoughts and opinions about all the news that I share with you. And finally, I would like to invite all of you to please subscribe to the channel so you can stay current on all the latest news in regards to our beloved club, FC Barcelona. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. And as always, Visca Barça.